What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Let Dirt Fly YouTube channel. Today we have another exciting mod / maintenance video here planned for you guys. So if you guys caught our maintenance video number 1, you have seen that unfortunately my Pitman arm on my quad is gone. So my front tires, if you watched them real quick, versus my handlebar movement, yeah, my handlebars move like almost 2 inches back and forth at the ends. Pretty bad. So up until recently, no one has offered an aftermarket upgraded Pitman arm for the XMR quads, unfortunately. So over the years, Can-Am has tried to upgrade the Pitman arm on these things. The latest rendition has a small clamp I'll show you guys in a little bit that helps bite the output shaft of the powered steering unit, but unfortunately it's still not good enough for when you're trying to run bigger tires and you're out sending it like Seth and I do. So luckily enough, this company called Jay Parts, they're actually from over the big thing called the ocean. They actually came out with their upgraded Pitman arm for the XMR models just recently. So hopefully we're going to be one of the first YouTube channels to cover this. They had other Pitman arms for, like, I believe Polaris and a couple other quads, but they finally came out with one for the Can-Ams. So I'm super excited, and let me show you guys what we got in the mail. So I just got this box in the mail for NCB Performance. I gotta give a huge shout out to Coy up there. They're actually located in New York, which is really cool, which is where we're from. But he really helped me out. Unfortunately, when he put the order in for Jay Parts to get this Pitman arm, the shipment company messed up a little bit, and when he actually got this thing in his hands, he literally overnighted it to me. So I gotta give a huge shout out to him for helping me out. But let's take a look at what we got in the box here. So one thing I'll be upgrading along with the Pitman arm is actually the bushing down there. Jay Parts actually offers this. It's supposed to be a great upgrade to the factory setup. And of course we got the money maker right here, Pitman arm. So what's nice about this guy, and the reason why I wanted to go with it the second I saw it, was the clamp. So instead of having, as you'll see in a little bit, just a circle with a one clamp on one side, this guy clamps from both sides, so you get double the biting power onto the output shaft of the powered steering unit. Now the other thing that's great about this guy is this right here. So if you own a Can-Am, you already know the pain. These things have the squeakiest steering I've ever heard in my life. So hopefully this will help with the bottom bushing, being that it'll not be a serviceable thing where I can actually grease it when I'm greasing the other components on the quad. So I can't wait to actually have that. Now as far as the upper bushing, unfortunately that guy's still going to squeak, but at least the bottom one's going to be all nice and smooth now. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the wheels off the quad and get the tearing this thing down. Alright, so very first thing I did here was just remove my inner fender well here. It's just held on by a bunch of those push pin clips, and we can get a better look at what we're dealing with. So turning my steering back and forth, if you guys can't really see it, I have a little video here I'll put overlay it. But basically, yeah, my Pitman arm is done for. So first thing we're going to have to do is go ahead and remove the tie rods. Now I don't know if I'm going to completely remove them. I just might remove them from the center where it's actually attached to the Pitman arm, and just drop them down just this way they're out of the way. And then after that, we're going to go ahead, get the bushing out of there, and hopefully get that Pitman arm out. All right, so first things first, we're going to want to go ahead and remove our cotter pin here. Just going to want to go ahead and get this guy out of the way, so this way we can go ahead and get the tie rods out. Now one thing that'll help a little bit is turning the wheel, well, at least for this side, to the left here, so we can get a better look at what we got. So you're going to want to grab your 15 and 19 millimeter wrenches. So we're going to go ahead and get the 15 on the bottom here, on the bottom of the tie rod. Get the 19 up in here, and see if we can get this guy to crack loose. Oh yeah, she's tight. Alright, so the camera family on the other side, but after you take the nut off, there is a washer under here So you don't want to lose that guy. You can just see it just in the camera there. Don't want to lose that. And then you just have to shake the tie rods a little bit and they pop right out. So right now I just got to do this other side. Just got to get the cotter pin out. As you can see, I started. And yeah, we'll just get this side off. And then once we do that, we can finally get in and try to get that pitman arm out. All right, so once you get your tie rods out of the way, there's a bolt right there on both sides. They're 13 millimeter. Now I got basically a 6-inch extension with another like 2 or 3-inch extension to get to the front side here. Okay, so basically I got through on the front side where the radiator would normally be on a regular Can-Am Outlander. And see if she comes loose. There you go. She came loose pretty easy, surprisingly. So you can see where my socket is on the other side there. It's a little bit of a tight spot to get to. I would imagine if you had a non-XMR model, because they do offer this for a non-XMR, that you would have to go ahead and remove the radiator, because getting to that bolt otherwise looks like it would be a heck of a time. All right, so this side's exactly the same. Just gotta get out from the back side here with a long extension. Yeah, I'm just dropping all my parts today here. All right, so there's a little cup that holds in the bushing for the pitman arm. I gotta find the other nut that you just dropped. There we go. All right, so now we can kind of see here. You guys can probably see it's for here moving the pitman arm. But now we gotta get to this bolt right there and get that guy loose, and then the whole pitman arm should hopefully pop right out of there. All right, so it's very hard to get in here. I'm trying to do here while filming. Basically, I got the wrench holding on the other side. And this thing is tight too, so you loosen the crap out of it. So looking at it, this bolt has to come all the way out, which is going to be fun because this thing is on there. Oh yeah. Because most likely it's got a notch in the shaft, I'm going to guess, for the pitman arm. Alright, so got the bolt out. Now we just got to figure out how to pry down on that guy and try to get it out of there and see what happens here. See if we can get the thing off there and give her a look-see. Alright guys, so one thing I had to do, this side there's 2 bolts up top here, and on the other side same thing, there's 2 bolts holding the power steering unit. I had to loosen those up just to get the power steering unit to come forward or back a little bit. So this way it had enough room. I'll show you, there's a lip. Pitman arm's about to come out, there she is. So there's a lip right here that the bushing rod's on, and that catches the edge here. So I had to fight this guy a little bit to finally figure that out, but ended up getting it. Other thing I had to do is there's the stock bushings in there, right here. They're just a 2-piece thing. They're actually really easy to pop out of there. You just gotta kind of spin them around and get them out of your way. And then once they're out of the way, that helps removing everything a lot more too. So right now we're just gonna compare the 2 pitman arms and then slap the new one in. All right, so here's our 2 pitman arms. So you can see quite a difference. So like I was saying before, what sold me on a new one was the clamp design. So you can see this guy's only held on and can squeeze by 1 bolt, whereas this guy has 2 bolts in it, which can squeeze a lot better. This is also much more solid versus the stock one here. You can see it's actually hollow, so it's just a lot beefier. It's a little bit heavier, not much, I gotta say. It's actually pretty dang close to the original one. But right now we just gotta prep this guy for the new bushings, and then we're gonna go ahead and get it ready to slap in. Now, one thing I saw here is they actually don't have this guy tight from the factory, so I'm just going to get some Teflon paste, tighten it up, and put that guy in there, and we'll start getting the thing back together. So when I'm going to install this guy, it should kind of look like this. The O-rings just slide, you take the bolts out, O-rings will slide over the top, And it should look something like that. And it just kind of clamps together on there. Now we're gonna go ahead and stick it up in there. Now one thing you wanna do is make sure your wheel is straight up top, or your handlebars rather. Now this might get a little difficult, so I'm probably gonna take the bushings out temporarily, just to give myself a little extra room. Dropping them. There we go. Right up in there. All right, so I got the Pitman arm up in there. Now the bushings kind of go with this side down. Little edge goes down. And we just kind of have to walk them in there. It's gonna be kind of hard to do while managing the camera here and also putting the bushing in. Basically just want to do that and it'll kind of walk itself around into its spot. If I can find the other half, here it is. Again, same thing. So you basically start the other one off, turned all the way around, and then this guy can go around the front side, like so, kind of like that. So it's kind of hard to show on camera, and then I spin both of them so this way they kind of hold themselves in like that. And there you go. It's ready to go for its final clamping. So we're going to go ahead and grab our clamp again. Now going back in, these tabs go down. Now I'm just going to loosely fit everything because the first thing I got to do is still tighten up our power steering unit. So this is just getting kind of semi-installed, not fully installed here. We're just using this to hold in the new bushings. And you're going to want to go ahead and put the bolt in through the other side. We're not going to tighten it yet. Like I said, we got to still tighten up the power steering. So should kind of look like that deal. So far we're looking pretty good here. All right, now once you get your Pitman arm kind of rested in there, we're going to want to go ahead and get our pry bar out. And I got to get the power steering unit back to where it belongs. If we bring the camera up here, you guys can see the line where she should be versus where she's at. So I got to push that back in so this way she goes right back to where she was. You can do the same thing on the other side. And I'll catch you guys in a minute when we go ahead and tighten up the bushing clamp.
Early the next morning.
All right, so it's actually next day here because I actually snapped, I'll move the camera up here, these two bolts trying to tighten them back up. They did not want to come loose, and when I went to go tighten them back up, usually if they don't want to come loose and you got to tighten them, they snap. So that's what happened. So I had to grab some new grade 8 hardware for up there, but I got the power steering unit back secured in. I actually also tightened up the bushing clamp here. Just want to snug that guy down really good and whatnot. So now, next thing we gotta do is the bolts that are in here. So I just got one in already. I gotta go ahead and grab the other one. We're gonna go ahead and snug that guy up. And once we do that, we get the tie rods back on and start getting this thing back together. All right, so time to tighten up the clamp for the Pitman arm here. You're gonna need a 13mm socket on one side and then a 6mm Allen key on the other side. We're gonna go ahead and we wanna tighten these guys up evenly because it is basically it's pinch clamp kind of thing. I don't know what you wanna call it. Probably a technical term that somebody's gonna write down in the comments down below. But basically once I snug these guys up, we're gonna wanna go ahead and just tighten them evenly, torquing them up here. So there's one, there's the other. And same thing, do like another 1/8 to 1/4 turn here, if I can get that much out of it. All right, guys, nice and snug now. The next step is to get the tie rods on. All right, so put the tie rods back on. It's basically going to be the reverse process of what we did before. Should slide right up and in, nice and easy. You're going to want to grab your big washer and the nut that was on there before. these in here. Sorry, I'm blocking the camera. It's kind of hard to with how tight everything is in here, unfortunately. One thing that helps is bringing the Pitman arm and the tie rod to the side you're working on. That so when we go to the other side of the quad, we're going to move to that side and do the same thing. Just makes things a little bit easier when you're trying to get in there. Now these are a lock style nut, I believe, on here. They go on a little bit tight. That's no biggie. You just kind of have to, unfortunately, walk it down the aisle here. All right, so once you're about to make your final crank, like I said, make sure the wrench is kind of facing straight like this. This way, when you tighten it down, that the because you got the holes in here for your for the pin, so you're gonna want to make sure that those are lined up from where they are normally from the factory. And so you want to make sure this guy is on there, because you don't want any loose steering. All right, so once you get the tie rod tightened up, next thing you want to do is throw your cotter pin in. Once you press it in, one side goes to one side and the other one goes to the other side. So this way it's wrapped totally around the tie rod bolt coming through and everything. And now you just repeat the process on the other side, and next step is going to be greasing up our new Pitman arm. All right, so one thing I did real quick is I actually changed out the grease fitting. I changed it out for like a 45-degree angle one. Just this way I can actually get my grease gun in there. That's the only thing I noticed, is that it was kind of hard to get on the grease fitting, but now nice and easy because I have a giant grease gun tip here. But now I should be able to line it up and get some grease pumped in there. Let's see. There it goes. See, I hear it going. There you go. Got a little bit squishing up the sides, and that should be all it takes. Okay, so one thing you guys might want to do and consider before putting the Pitman arm in is just getting a different grease fitting, maybe a 90-degree one. I had a 45 laying around, so I just threw that guy in. It is metric, so I had to, I just tapped it real quick. I just had standard stuff around, but everything feels nice and snug. So right now we're gonna go ahead and throw the inner fenders back on. This side's actually gonna stay off because I have another project planned, but get the other side back on, put the wheels back on, and put this thing on the ground and see if the steering's nice and stiff again. All right, so the quad's back on the ground. Let's give the handlebars a wiggle and see what we're dealing with now. Ah, that's better. The wheels actually turn when I'm turning my handlebars. I think that's what's supposed to happen, not loosey-goosey stuff. But that's awesome, finally. So next video, we're gonna go ahead and we're probably gonna get a ride video in finally for you guys. I know you guys have been waiting for that. But we're gonna be putting this thing to the test. We're gonna see if this thing holds up to some abuse. We're gonna throw it in some mud and do some full sends and see if she holds up, because this is an upgraded unit, and I'm really excited to try it. It looks beefy, and I have a feeling it's going to do a really good job. So for install wise, it wasn't too hard. It was more about fitting your hands in there, because it was a tight little squeeze in there to get to those bolts and whatnot. Other than that, not too bad of an install. I think most of you guys could handle it, no problem. So unfortunately my other camera died, so I have to use my phone here. But I have to give a huge shout out to Coy, aka Trevor from NCB Performance. He's the one that turned me on to this Pitman arm. I saw Jay Parts offered a non-XMR style Pitman arm. I asked him when they were going to be coming out for one for the XMR. He said, actually, it's in a couple weeks. I said, hey, let me know when that thing comes out, because I want to be one of the first ones to have it. And sure enough, here we are. Now, if you want to purchase this Pitman arm for yourself, make sure you head on over to NCB Performance's website. I recommend buying it from them because their customer service is top-notch. Like I said, Coy helped me out a lot with the shipping and everything like that, because he didn't have to go out of his way to overnight and everything to me. So I gotta thank him for that. Those guys are actually local to us in New York. He's about 3.5, 4 hours away from us. But he's a really cool guy. Any other questions I had for him and everything, he answered me within like 10, 15 minutes on Facebook. Super cool guy. I said I 100% recommend purchasing it from them. So with that, make sure you guys are liking, commenting, and subscribing down below. I really appreciate everything you guys do, all the comments we get, all the likes we get, and all the subscriptions we get. So if you're not subscribed, please consider doing so. We really appreciate it. Now, if you want to catch us behind the scenes, you can always head over to our Instagram, our Facebook, and our TikTok. We post all kinds of different trailers, events, and everything that's going to be going on over there. So with that, we will have to catch you guys next time on Let Dirt Fly.